I will call the meeting to order and ask Dan to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. And welcome to all our guests. This is one of our most exciting meetings of the year when we get to hear from the kids who are headed off to tell us about their experience and the kids who have had a year to reflect on their preparedness and their experience and share with us to inform the work that we'll do in the year coming forward. So thank you all for being here. This is probably your busiest time of year. I know you guys have finals, you guys are wrapping up your 8th grade year, and parents are busy, busy, busy. So thank you to everybody for making it here. Any comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Okay. Any board acknowledgements?
The usual year-end concerts have been quite spectacular so far, and hopefully will continue to be. They were supposed to be on Friday, but little issue with the school. But the choir concert was quite spectacular. Thank you, Megan Bokash, as always.
Just for clarification, it was not the school's responsibility.
Oh, I understand.
It was a water main break.
I understand.
I was told to shut her down.
Yeah.
Act of nature.
Act of nature.
And I'd like to thank everybody that planned that in-service day on May 27th because it was awesome, and I hope everybody got as much out of it as I did. I enjoyed it a lot. So. But I know a lot of hard work went into it, and it was much appreciated.
Glad to have you there.
And it's awesome to know that it's impactful because I know half days are hard for families too. So thank you for allowing us that opportunity, families. I'd like to acknowledge our retirees. Mark and I attended the retirement reception on Wednesday, was it, Mark, I think? For Diana Arthur, who has 40 years with the district, Chris Dobson, 12, Deb Farley, 19, Joan Martin, 22, and Sean Willis, 21. It was unbelievable, and it was a really nice tribute from their colleagues for each of them. So it was a little bit quieter, somewhat smaller group, and a few blips in some of the anticipated scheduling, but it really felt very intimate and warm. Hopefully they enjoyed it and felt honored in that time as well, because we are so fortunate for all they've devoted to kids and families over collectively 114 years. So that's pretty amazing. And then any other, because I have one more. No? Okay. I got to go to what's the name of the team? Nova team. Bad with the names of the teams. But the Nova team's sort of celebration of their 2 years of work on their PLPs and their community service projects. And it was unbelievable. You guys, I was blown away by what these kids have done over these 2 years. For some of them, it was a full 2-year project. For some of them, it was after the first year, they realized that wasn't going to be necessarily 2 years worth of work, and they moved on to something else that was within their interest and aligned with their personal learning plan, but allowed them to reach out directly to adults to establish a plan for what they might want to do in moving this forward to next year as incoming freshmen and figuring out how they can continue to pursue their passions and their interests. And I was just completely blown away by their demonstrations of their work, but more importantly, actually, their passionate descriptions, not formal presentations, but just talking with them. So thank you guys, because it was your team. But thank you for including the opportunity for us to see these personalized learning plans and sort of capstone project, community service focus in action. It was amazing. So thank you. All right, I am done. Are we good? Okay. All right, moving right along, you guys are next, but this part, the consent agenda, I would accept a motion on the consent agenda as
I will make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, including the minutes, and I am not going to read through every...
You have to.
Oh, she's such a stickler.
She's such a
Thank
stickler.
goodness for her.
To accept the general fund expenditure revenue reports, to accept the warrants for May 1st, May 11th, and May 25th, to approve the budget amendment number 9, to approve the tax anticipation note borrowing resolution and non-arbitrage certificate, that's even hard to say, and the approval of the request for proposals on the bids for the window replacement.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Passes 4-0. I didn't note it at the start, but Rachel is coming. She had a conflict and will be here. So, thank you all.
Now that we've approved it, can I ask a question about it?
You bet.
No.
Come on, if you think it's
As far as-
okay, you're our
As
rules
far as
lady.
window replacement, the cost that you gave us, that's locked in no matter what happens?
The cost that we estimated in the budget
The
process,
cost that was in our packet,
The,
so the bid that was submitted, which we,
locked in,
It's-
so
yeah.
okay, that was my
and
only.
it's less than what we had
Right.
anticipated it would be.
just
Pleasant surprise.
good
making
news.
sure it was
We like
locked
when
in.
that
was fine.
happens.
Thank you.
All right. So again, moving right along to probably, again, our most treasured part of the year to really hear from how this is going for you guys. And I'll hand it over to Mark.
Okay, great. Let's see, we're expecting maybe 2, there's one. Is that Emma or Maddie? Maddie. And I had mentioned to our friends from EHS that they were going to be on at about 7:15, so we hopefully will see the 4th person from the freshman class. So I just want to set some context, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Briggs. And I think, Etienne, you'd like our panelists up front, or are we good where they are?
My microphone is there. I have a nice shot if they're standing up in front, out in front of the flag would be good, or the other side, wherever.
Okay, where you guys, whatever you're comfortable with. I want to make sure you're comfortable.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we can move chairs.
Thank you.
Yeah. So some context for our panelists. You heard Ms. Gleason talk about her opportunity to visit the NOVA team to look at student work. And tonight's presentations, or panelist presentation, is really about, it's called direct inspection, meaning that the board is here to hear directly from students who are greatest, or who are the most impacted by the work that we do in Essex Town School District. So rather than looking at graphs and numbers and charts in terms of your performance, say on SBAC or NECAP or the assessments we do, all important, but more important is to see the work that you're directly benefiting from your education based on your time here in Essex Town. So I know Mr. Briggs is going to talk about really specifically the voice of students in trying to influence the climate in EMS, and one of the policies that the board pays attention to is making sure that students are encouraged to take social responsibility and leadership to help influence the work in our schools today. So really tonight is your opportunity to share with the board and with the public, your experiences as student leaders and how important your voice has been in the work that you've been doing. And we're going to take about 30 minutes or so, 20 to 30 minutes. Each of you has a few minutes to talk about that. And then we're gonna bring our friends from EHS up to talk about their experiences as freshmen this year. Okay?
Great. So I'm really excited. And it looks like Lexi would like to start, so at starting guard, Lexi Harnish, hop right up there. Sure, we'll put
Do
Maddie
you guys
here.
want chairs up here to sit, or is that more comfortable?
Sure.
Here, I'll give you a chair.
A chair.
One chair.
I'm about to make it work.
So I'm super excited about, I guess I'll just stand here with these for a minute. For a couple of years ago, I guess this is our 3rd year, we brought to our school what is called peer leaders through a world of difference. And it really has made a world of difference. And what these guys aren't aware of is the 3 years prior to, or the 4 years prior to their 3 years. And the work that they have done, as well as Lindsay Hallman, who has kind of guided you guys, Lindsay Falby, who's also guided them, has really made a world of difference at the middle school. And so when Mr. Andrews came to me and he said, I'm looking for people to talk a little bit, or some kids to talk about the climate and talk about the leadership that we have within the school, there were 2 groups that came to mind. And the first was the peer leaders. And the second, I'll get to these guys in a little bit. All right? Okay. So well, we talked a little bit this morning, but what I wanted you to share was that process about where we were and where we are, what your role was, what you guys did, the growth that you had, everything from the school to Boston to here tonight has been just examples of your leadership. And although we'll talk, so you go. You guys are on.
Okay, so I have been doing peer leaders for 7th and 8th grade, and Maddie has been doing it since 6th grade.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the beginning of 6th grade,
We would meet up maybe like once a month and start like planning on what we were gonna do mostly in 7th grade to get, because I think there's 5 kids I believe that were in it, and we couldn't really do much with 5 kids, go to classrooms like what we did last year and in this year too.
Yeah, so starting in 7th grade, we started going to the workshops with Kathy Johnson. And that was fun. Like, we got to learn so much, and then we would come back and work with, I think we started out with 6th grade classes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought it went really well. Like, for 6th graders coming in, I thought they were going to be a lot more shy than they were. But they seemed to like the activities. We tried to do it a little bit differently than like how we've been learning about bullying for like the whole whole school time.
Yeah, rather than having like
lists and like
we took a different approach rather than having like teachers and adults show us and have more of a student to student.
So we had like a lot of activities and stuff, which I mean, I think it helped. From what I've seen, I think it helped. I definitely think some students took it more, not as a joke, but like weren't taking it too seriously, which I mean, I feel like we could change that by changing the activities a little bit.
Yeah, more interactive.
Yeah, more interactive.
Rather just like, we have some activities that's more get up, but we need more like to get them more engaged and like moving around, because it's hard to sit down for 45 minutes or however long and just listen to somebody speak.
Yeah, so then after we went to 7th, did we go to 7th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to 7th grade classes. I think 7th grade, well, I mean, for me, because I was in my class, or I wasn't in my class, but I was like with my other classmates, I feel like it really was not taken seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, at least.
Like when there's upper class, like when the 8th graders would come into class, like they'd like sort of listen to them, but like when you'd speak, it's sort of just like, oh, you're friends, so it's just like whatever.
So I mean, that's just kind of the students, like they have to take it seriously. But I mean, I think it still impacted the school and like helped students learn more about it.
And definitely not like when we went to Boston, a girl named Ella, who couldn't be here today, but she said it turns people into bystanders into allies, which I think is a really good quote, and like I really think that's what's happening in our school.
Yeah. So we also went to meetings at UVM, and you went to all 3 years, right?
I didn't go this year.
Oh, okay. Well,
last year.
She went 6th and 7th grade. What did you guys do in 6th grade?
In 6th grade, we weren't presenters, but we'd go to I think we got to choose, is it 3 workshops that they had? Mm-hmm. So you'd have 3 workshops, and one of them was not like self-defense as in like fighting, but more of like sticking up and like, I forget what it was called. It started with a B, and it was really cool. This guy was teaching it, and he was more of a mental like approach, which I found really cool. And there was another one of sportsmanship for athletics, which I found really cool. And then the big workshop, there was, came last year, Lida Winfield.
Yeah, Lida Winfield.
And who's an interpretive dancer.
Yeah.
And she told like her story of like her life through dancing, and like it was really cool. And
she also came to EMS.
Yeah.
Which was cool too. And then in 7th grade we presented, and then 8th grade I went, but I didn't present because we wanted to give like the 6th and 7th graders chances to present. But I mean, from like this year, I feel like we've like the 2 Lindsays have like brought a lot of more 6th graders in the mix, which I think was a really good idea. Just because this year, 6th grade, I know there was like tons of cyberbullying that happened and just bullying. So I mean, I think it worked, or it helped that we had other sixth graders to kind of like improve our activities and like tell us what we should do to kind of involve everyone a bit more.
And they're honest too, so it's not like
Yeah.
it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the sixth graders were like honest, and I feel like it definitely helped again, which I feel like our target was kind of more sixth grade.
Yeah.
Like last year, eighth grade, we didn't go
We didn't go to 8th grade
just because
this year or last year.
Which I mean, we got to eighth, like the eighth graders now were seventh graders last year, obviously.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, we already had taught them, and it was kind of the same material. So, and then eighth graders last year, I mean, I just didn't think we had a chance, like trying to improve it, and there was not that much time left in the year,
Yeah.
and
And
there
a
was
lot of
already-
us were like little 7th and 6th
Yeah, we were
graders.
kind of like, I mean,
There they are, right over there.
Scary.
But I mean, I think they also, like, everyone has gotten the lecture about bullying like every year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like
Yeah, like you need to start earlier, like in 6th grade, and then like work them up rather
Yeah.
than just like go right into 8th grade. 'Cause
Yeah.
then it's sort of like, what the heck are these people talking about to us?
But also, I think for like improving it, I feel like we need more activities because the activities we get it from is from the World.
ADL.
Oh yeah,
book.
the World of Difference book,
Mhm.
with like tons of activities which like all peer leaders do, and also at all these conferences there were like peer leaders from all schools in Vermont,
Yeah.
which was cool to like see other students.
And New England, when we went to Boston.
Yeah,
there
we
was-
went to Boston this
we
year,
went-
the eighth graders.
Yeah, it was like we got to see like all the work that we've put into it, like planning the 8th graders group, and we'd got to like the hotels that were like whipping out all of our posters, and like we presented the next morning.
To like a group of like
13. Oh, our class was small.
Oh, okay. Well, my group was like 35, I think, which was cool because it was kids and like students,
Adults.
adults. Thank you, but like from all over New England, which I think was cool. And I mean, I think we had a lot of fun with it, and the way we presented it was different than what we had normally presented it. It wasn't activities; it was more like we had posters. I think there were still activities, but they were different, which I thought was good. But I mean, I feel like we need more activities for like next year, only because the 6th graders and the 7th graders will have already done all the other activities. So I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
we need more
Because
activities.
it's the same. Well, didn't you go this year to one of the training workshops? I think it's like the same training.
Yeah. It's the
most,
same
like,
training like every year.
like,
So I mean, the 6th and
Yeah.
7th graders, they'll have all the same training, which I feel. I mean, it'll still be good to like remind them, but at the same time, I think we need different, like a different approach to try to get the message out there.
and definitely like more like organizing, like with on the teachers,
Yeah.
like because sometimes we'd butt into like some of our class schedule, like math or like writing, and then you had to make up on the work, which I don't mind, but when it's like something your teacher's teaching you, it's sort of hard to like make up, like
Mhm.
rather than going after school.
So think about you guys as leaders from your 6th grade year to this year. Well, how does that look? How does that feel? Do you
I
feel like you
mean-
had more of a voice?
I feel more confident because in 6th grade I was definitely scared to come into the middle school.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like a pure leader in 6th grade, but like going into 7th grade, getting the training, just like learning more about it, I think that it definitely helped, and I definitely think I'm like
and
more
awareness.
Yeah,
like, that it actually
awareness.
happens in our school, and
Because
it's
I
not
feel like,
just like
for
out
me,
there.
like I was kind of just like, I mean, yeah, it happens, but like not that much. But I mean, it definitely does happen. Just I guess not in my friend group. So I think just knowing about it and having other kids come together that like you normally won't talk to. I mean, if they're not your friends or you just don't talk to them from like younger grades too. It was helpful for them to be like, well, I mean, in my grade or in my group of friends, we have tons of bullying. So I mean, it definitely
Yeah.
opened our eyes, and I definitely think it helped us just become more confident, like for high school too.
And it's definitely not just like these people that you like know the best in like your grade. It's definitely like the teachers, which is nice. I think like they recommend them. Like it could be like the quietest student.
Yeah.
and They get chosen, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. So for like the peer leaders that we have, like they were all chosen by teachers,
Yeah.
which definitely like makes I mean, for me, it made me
Yeah.
feel kind of like special, I
Yeah.
guess, to know that some like a teacher sees that
Yeah.
I could like be a leader and stuff.
So this morning I asked you both if you were going to continue being a leader at the high school, and before you answer that out loud, I want to remind you of your ADL, the Anti-Defamation League World of Difference conference that you went to, and it was about making a difference. And my question to you is, being a leader may not be being part of peer leaders, but do you think that you will make a difference in the high school, make a difference? Will you be an added value to the EHS this upcoming year?
I mean, for me, I don't think I'm gonna go along with like peer leaders, the group. I don't know, just because I'm like already nervous enough for high school and like I don't want like another thing. But I mean, I definitely think that I'll still try to like follow along with like what peer leaders tries to inform kids about. So I mean, it's not like I forget it all, and I feel like I'll still, I mean, be as much of a leader as I can, being like a freshman, which I'm kind of terrified about also. But I mean, it'll be fine.
Patrick made it. Barely.
What about you?
I don't know how to, like, I don't know if there's, like, clubs or anything. I definitely like to still, I don't know. I'm, like, just like Lexi said, I'm sort of stressed out and, like, scared of becoming a freshman. But definitely if, like, once I get used to it, like, if there's something, like, you can join in the middle of the year, like, once you get, like, the hang of things, I definitely like to help out or, like, as much as I can, not even being part of a group, just, like, if I just see something, like, be like, although that could be scary too, being a little freshman saying something to somebody else. But you could like just like stand up and like to make sure like you be you and like help out your friends out and like other people who like you don't necessarily talk to.
I mean, also I think if there's an option to like do it maybe in sophomore year,
Yeah.
I feel like I'd feel more confident in it, just being, I don't know, not a freshman.
Yeah.
Well, you did the same thing
Can-
from 6th to 7th, right?
True.
You did the same.
Can you share with? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go.
Can you share with us some of the activities that you did at the different grade levels?
So
Or is it a secret? If it's a secret,
No.
that's all right.
So in sixth, we did all the same activities.
Okay.
Like they were the same
Yeah.
activities for each grade, and we had
Human dominoes, which
Yeah.
is like it's more of a warm up, so
that was
we
the
could,
first activity we
yeah,
did with the
that
class.
we can get them like. So it's sort of hard going into sixth grade and they're really quiet, and then as soon as you get to know them, then they just raise their hand, keep raising their hand, and which is a good thing. And so human dominoes is just like to get everybody to show that you have something in common, and you try to create a circle. Like on my left hand, I love dancing, which I can't dance, but
Yeah.
and
And
Lexi likes to
then,
dance.
like, so she would start,
Yeah.
and she would be that first person, and she would say, I mean, on my left
I love
hand,
ice cream.
and then I would be like, oh, I love ice cream, so I'd run up and
Yeah.
grab her hand. So it's kind of like a little bit competitive, but I mean, not
Yeah.
really, because everyone's gonna get in
Yeah.
the circle at some point,
Yeah.
and it helped because I know in sixth grade there were like kids that were like, oh, like you like whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
it was good, and then we also had some more serious stuff. We had
Cyber Ally, which we just did recently, which
yeah,
is 2
in
weeks ago.
sixth grade.
Yeah.
And that was, we read a paragraph from a person that was.
There's like these 7, I think, different little letters, and so it was about cyberbullying. And since sixth grade, there has been cyberbullying. We decided to do this activity, and so they'd be like, "Dear Cyber Ally, this person has been doing this to me online, and I really want to do this back to them. Is this cyberbullying?" And so the kids would get into groups and would have to write in the back of the piece of paper if
A letter
this.
back.
Yeah, a letter back, and what strategy this is, like, you don't see me, I don't know you, and like why kids do this, and a strategy to stop it.
Yeah, and also, I think we gave them, like, we kind of did a lesson before that activity on, like, ways to stop cyberbullying, or if you're getting cyberbullied, like, examples, which the book gave us. There was, like, a really good, like, a chart that was really helpful and had, like,
Yeah.
tons of examples. So, I mean, we gave that to them first so they had something to kind of go off of.
Yeah.
And I mean, in my class, it worked really well, and I feel like they definitely got a lot out of it.
it also helps with like the teachers. Like the teachers will be more. Some of the teachers are like really into it and like listen along, and like most of the teachers are into it. Well, at least I know like Miss Rose is like into it, and yeah, and so she'll like make sure like the kids are like really listening, and like so you
Which
get like
is
really
helpful
good, yeah,
when
you
like
get
the
really good
teachers
feedback.
are excited about it.
Yeah. And last rumor clinic, I know like everybody.
Oh yeah, the rumor
Yeah.
clinic was really cool. Like every
Yeah.
single time we did it, they were interested in it, even if we
Yeah.
had done it more than once. And it was pretty much just showing how a rumor evolves. And it was we would read it out loud to the first person. I think it was like 6 people, and then another person would come in, and that person that it was just told to would have to tell it to from what they remember to that person, like they're telling a rumor. And I thought it was like crazy to see like the difference
Yeah.
from the real
So it'll be
rumor.
like 2 paragraphs long in the beginning, and then at the end it's 1 sentence.
And like people would be like, whoa, like it's actually how a rumor happened. So I thought
Yeah.
that one was really effective, and I like love that activity.
Yeah, because that's what we need more of, like that activity to show.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, like what it is before and like what it turns into and how it escalates.
It's amazing as in the adult world rumors still happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't get corrected in middle school. I think we should make a shift, but I want to have your peers come up. But one of the questions I think we want to ask after it's all done is the effect, all the things that you're working on, and we'll hear from your peers soon, the effect it's having on the climate in the building. So be thinking about all the great things you've just described, really important activities and strategies. How does it feel today compared to it was a couple of years ago? So we can make a shift.
All right, Emma and Anthony, they're excited about being up here. This is as excited Anthony ever gets, and he's thrilled. So this year through Chris Dumichel, we began a Athletic Leadership Council, which is really a spin-off from the high school's Athletic Leadership Council, which Chris is not beyond our SMS, our student management person. He's also our athletic director. And he uses athletics as a way of teaching life lessons. And with that, he's been wanting to start this athletic council for probably, the 3 years that he's been here. This was the first year he felt very confident with a group of 8th graders in particular to begin. And they did a lot of work this year around community. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can chat about that? Easy enough?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. We'll start with Emma.
So last year, was it this year?
We just started this
Oh.
year.
So in the beginning of the year, Mr. Dumichel came to us and asked us if we wanted to be part of the Athletic Leadership Council because we got nominated by our coaches and peers from being like an athletic leader. So we thought that was a fun idea. And then we had our first meeting, and he told us a little bit about what it was going to be, how we're going to try and get the community to come together, and how to be. Sheila Stawinski would come and meet with us and talk to us about how to become more of a leader, and like how to be in a leader role if you weren't. And so that was basically how it got started.
We've been doing we've been organizing games for intramurals after school. We've done things like dodgeball,
kickball, ultimate frisbee, gaga ball. That was a good
yeah.
one.
Some floor hockey thing. Knee hockey. We did that.
No,
I don't think we did that.
Oh,
that was my students.
So that lots of kids from multiple grades came out and participated in all of them. And for some of the games, we had grades intertwined. So we had specific rules. I think you had to have a certain amount of 7th graders and at least one girl on a dodgeball team and one 6th grader. So that way it wasn't just the 8th graders were dominating and then all the girls all the 7th and 6th grade groups would just be off to the side and more people would participate.
That kind of works. Before that, we did. we had a Gaga Ball tournament before that, and we had everyone sign up, and then we organized the teams to make sure that it was like even. Like we put multiple 6th, 7th, and 8th graders on, and that worked really well. And then we were like, oh, so that went well, so maybe we can try the signing up by yourself on the dodgeball teams. And some teams dominated more than the others, because like some were like more competitive than the others. And then we did ultimate frisbee and kickball, and we like picked the teams, so we knew that we couldn't really have the students pick their own teams because it didn't work out so well, because like a lot of people thought it was unfair. So then we went back to choosing our own teams.
Who was involved? Was it voluntary, or was the whole school involved?
I think 18 6th or 7th and 8th graders got picked by like their coaches, but
No, I mean
intramurals was everyone.
Oh,
Anyone could
yeah.
sign up.
But it wasn't. Not everybody did. You didn't.
No.
You
No,
didn't do
but-
it for all 400 kids in the school.
No, but if they did, we like would have
You would,
found a way
okay.
to
Okay.
make it work.
Do you know about how many participated?
The dodgeball tournament was a huge one. We had like maybe like 12
Yeah,
teams of
yeah.
like 8 or 9 kids on each. And then the Gaga Ball was huge. There was like 4 people on each team, and there were maybe like 16 or 17 teams. So people seemed to really like that.
Well, Spirit Week.
Oh, right.
It was a little more inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for Spirit Week, along with every day being a specific, like,
Thing to do. Like,
yeah, like
what
one day was Hat Day,
grade color.
Pajama Day, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Oh, flannel day.
So all most of the classrooms participated, and at the end, the classroom or the team, was it a team or a classroom?
I think it was class. No, the team would sign up for a sport to do in the morning meeting time, so that's 30 minutes, where their team would sign up for like relay races, scooter soccer, strike it,
Tug
of war. I think.
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. And so each kid kind of got to choose what they're like best at, so they could like compete against the other teams in the school. And then
At first, most kids, we kind of had like it required for like at least one kid to do one game in the morning. But at first, some kids were a little reluctant, but after first day of being on their teams, they, or in my classroom, a lot of kids like came back and like talked about what they did. So I think they enjoyed it after their first day, and then we kept that going for a week.
And then, so on Friday, it was like the big, like,
Championship for all the games.
And that, like, everyone seemed to really enjoy that. So the finals were 2 teams going against each other, and then you could, if you weren't in the finals, you could go and watch whatever game, and like there was a ton of people cheering, and it was really fun. And then, it was in the afternoon when we had the relay races. In the afternoon, we had the relay races, and
That was going pretty well until
a girl ran into a wall because they had a blindfold on. And then, yeah, but people seemed to have really fun besides that.
it was at the end, so
Yeah.
everything else went well.
I heard about that one.
But like after like that happened, everyone always seemed to be like talking like, oh, like can't wait to have Spirit Week next year, and like we kind of like ADL was kind of our like person who we were like, or like the school, like we're like, oh, we want to be more like ADL because they have a ton of like school spirit from like the basketball tournament, and so we were like, oh, we want to be more like them, so that's when we decided to put the Spirit Week on.
Very nice.
I wonder if we want to bring up all 4 panelists and any questions that the board may have. Is that okay? Can we bring 2 more chairs up, and then we can spend a couple minutes? There are no wrong answers.
I want to know what Gaga Ball is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Have a demonstration quickly.
What is it?
You're in like an octagon of like, it's kind of like a pit. Like you're in like, we built it. Mr. Raldi built it, and like students, and it's like an octagon, and you have 12 people.
So where it came from was that I had 3 kids came to me and said, at summer camp we play this game called Gaga Ball. And I said, all right, I don't know what it is. It made no sense to me. So I thought it was Lady Gaga. And so I looked it up and I found it, and it looked decent. So I said, you need to present this down to Mr. Raleigh to see if they can do it. So he took it with some, I think, 7th graders.
Yeah,
built it,
7th graders.
Right?
Yeah.
And they painted it and all that. So once again, I mean, I just want to share, it came from the students. So we have carpet ball. That came from the students. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, you're right.
So then there's 12 people that go in the pit, and you have a ball, and basically you're trying to hit it at in between their knees and their feet, and if it hits their feet, then they're out, but you can only hit it once, and basically it's just like a fast-paced going of trying to hit each other's feet, and people seem to really like it because every day at like the recess time, everyone went out, and there was always a huge line waiting to play.
You see many teachers in the pit?
Mr. Sennett, well, like, you can sign up. You can sign up for like morning meeting, like going and like you can reserve the Gaga pit, and like, well, at least my teacher and Mr. Casperson.
You should see in service. They are just.
I wonder if the board has questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You talked about a lot about your interaction with kids, with all the different grades. How about interaction with the teachers? Did you feel like did you have, and I guess I'm thinking more of the two of you with the peer leader group, having an effect on the teachers and giving feedback to the teachers, saying, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what the kids are telling us is going on. Did you interact with the teachers in ways like that, or the principal or whoever?
I guess for interacting with teachers, I feel like they kind of already knew it was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's kind of difficult for like the teachers to give them kind of a benefit of the doubt. Like there's 400 kids in that school. So I mean, it's obviously extremely difficult to try to have everyone be kind to each other. It's a middle school. But I mean, I feel like with peer leaders, it's brought more attention to it. And also I think that the peer leaders that see it happening like have definitely like gone into it. Like I know I've had a situation on social media where I've like went into the situation and like tried to like stop it and then went to a teacher. So like I think that it definitely helped seeing like peer leaders do something like visually, and then the teachers would like see what happens and notice that peer leaders is like changing the school climate and definitely like helping everyone get along better. So I definitely think that teachers have learned more about it. I mean, I don't
some of the teachers like don't actually know about the topics.
Yeah,
like,
so I mean like some teachers like we haven't really, or they're new teachers or whatever. So I mean those teachers haven't got to see the meetings with the students, but I mean they will at some point. Yeah. And I definitely think the teachers like they know what's going on more just seeing students present about it. And I definitely think that they have got more involved in it.
Yeah, and I definitely know, like, it's like one teacher I talked to, like, it's a different point of view from, like, the students to students rather than teacher. And they've talked about how, like, it's made more of an impact of student to student rather than teacher to student, because it's more of just teachers talking up there, like, keep going, you don't take it in as much. I don't know how to explain it. So
It's true. We got it.
So I know you mentioned like ADL, that you wanted to be, you noticed the spirit or felt the spirit that they had. Do they have a similar group either in the athletic avenue or the peer leaders? And are there other groups in the school? And I apologize if I'm...
I know they have peer leaders because I have friends that are in that, but Mr. Dumichel wanted to introduce Athletic Leadership Council to ADL. I know he said he wanted to do that for next year.
Any other final questions from the board, these panelists?
No, but I have a comment about the question that they were asked as far as going to be freshmen. I think you're going to do outstandingly well.
and things like the peer leaders club. You say, oh my God, it's one more thing to do. That would actually be, or whatever. The clubs are the things that will make it actually easier because you will meet the people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. And all of a sudden you'll be hanging out with a bunch of juniors and seniors, going, oh, they're just real people too. And, even though they're big and scary. But I encourage you, keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
Up there, all of you.
So this is more based on the peer leaders, but there's actually a program at the high school, and it's peer helpers.
Yeah.
And they do simple things or similar things to the peer leaders, where they take freshmen on tours for the school before the school year.
During the summer.
Yeah, over the summer they'll take kids to the school, show them classes, certain halls like science halls, math halls, and it's actually a really cool experience. And my guidance counselor actually recommended me to do it next year. So you can join anytime. Sophomore, you said you might not be sure doing it as a freshman, but it's definitely open.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you
guys
for
did
waiting.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Nice job.
Guys want to come up?
You leave the chair- whoop.
Yeah, want to leave the chairs there. That'd be great. And where the board is, for a token of your appreciation, we have movie theater tickets for all of you, 2 for each person. Thank you. Freshman.
You survived. Only 3 of the 4 of you
I
survived.
was gonna say, they're not freshmen much longer though, right?
Well, I'll let Mary Ellen, Olivia, and Patrick introduce themselves, but I had sent them the questions that I had forwarded to the board in the board package, just to get you sort of activated around your thinking about the experience you had as freshmen this year. And what the board is always interested, this is the 5th group of freshmen that have come before the board in June, to talk about, the journey you had as Essex Town students, K-8 or maybe pre-K-8. And I know it's hard to remember what it was like back when you were 5 years old, but if you can think about the questions that I wrote down and just sort of like reflect with us, and again, no right or wrong answers, no script that we expect, but hopefully those questions got you thinking a little bit about your preparedness for 9th grade based on your experiences here in the town. And I know the board's got some questions about that as well. Because what we think about is kindergarten or preschool all the way through 12th grade. We don't stop thinking about you after 8th grade. We hope that the work that we've done as educators, as families, and as communities, that's gotten you ready for adulthood. And that you're here tonight to talk a little bit about that with us. Who wants to go first?
Voting Lou. She's always prepared. Paper.
Good. Well, notes. I use notes all the time. Yeah.
So, my name's Olivia Percy. I'm 15 years old, and I was in ETSD from kindergarten to 8th grade. I'm currently at EHS, and my biggest dream in life is to help people. So, specifically for me, that means that I want to be a medical diagnostician. And so, to go more in depth, that's a medical professional who diagnoses patients with conditions and diseases. So these patients have already been in the ER and they've already been in the walk-in clinic, so they don't deal with the common cold or the broken leg, but rather with rare and almost mysterious diseases, and they're seen as the forensic detective of the hospital. So I think this really prepared. I was on the Galaxy team in 7th and 8th grade, and they were probably the best 2 academic years I've had here. They were absolutely amazing. And more specifically, I had an amazing science teacher, Miss Pratt. She got me interested in science and encouraged me to pursue my interests in high school, and that I did. I just finished biology, and I'm going into the medical strand of STEM next year. So I firmly believe that her support of my interests and also the support of my other 2 female science teachers, Miss Gorman and Miss Goldstein, led me to to the development of this new idea that I want to be when I grow up. And so there's not actually a lot of female role models in science or math. And so I think that these 3 strong teachers really helped me grow to this idea, and this really supported my interests. So now in high school that I can do these things. So, however, not all of my experiences were positive. I picked up some really challenging learning habits during 8th grade when I was in the algebra program. The program was based on quantity, not quality of the learning, so I found myself with almost every night 50+ problems to do. So I found myself rushing through problems, not really understanding, just putting an answer down on paper to just get the work done, so I didn't spend 2 hours on algebra and then 30 minutes on English, and they would just add up too quickly. So these learning habits I found myself also doing this year in geometry. I found myself rushing through problems, even skipping some problems, just like, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter, but it really does. You have to get the learning down because then it all bases each other, and now I'm finding that with finals. So it took me almost all of quarter one to get these old learning habits out the door. Nice. So now I'm finding with finals that I have to go back and relearn that whole quarter one material. So my suggestion would be to don't get rid of the algebra program, just because it is one of the few chances accelerated learners have to learn at an upper level or that's at their pace, just to modify the program to like 20 problems a night and not 50. An algebra program that would be based on the quality of learning rather than the quantity. And then I think that would have really prepared me to soar in the mathematics at the high school. So I mentioned algebra, but I also want to finish my remarks asking what other opportunities ETSD could have for strong learners. One of the reasons and I think I can speak for all of us here, love the high school is that there's so many different opportunities, and there's so many different levels too, that in different like learning ways, whether if you're like a reading learner or writing, there's so many different classes. And so I think that it's reasonable for ETSD to offer higher learning or just different learning opportunities for the students. So thank you.
Thanks, Olivia.
Very nice.
I would also like to comment on the algebra thing. It was very difficult, and I found it very hard to keep up with. So during this, I was trying to keep up the quality, and because of this, I was spending close to 4 hours a night on homework, and I wasn't getting my other classes done. So I ended up dropping the class, and now I sort of regret it, but I sort of don't. This year, every single one of my quarters except this last one has been 100 or over 100 in algebra, and that's because I feel it's a more quality based, and it's based on like your tempo. I feel that I'm really strong in algebra, and it's definitely something that I would like to keep with in life, as I'll tell you later. But because of this, I feel like I was sort of not left behind, but I had to stay back. But next year I am doubling up in math, taking geometry and algebra too.
For you.
To come back into sort of what I wanted to keep on track. All right, well, starting this, I'm Patrick Cooper. I'm currently finishing up my freshman year at Essex High School, and overall, I think it's been a great experience. I've loved it. I've had a lot of friends and made a lot of new friends. Coming in with Westford kids and ADL, it's great. You sort of get a fresh start, new people to meet, and I love it. It's great. My goal after my high school career is to be someone who helps others, like Olivia, not like in her manner. Right now I'm focused on going to college and majoring in a math major. I was looking at colleges in the northeastern part of the U.S., so mostly Massachusetts or Rhode Island, and I'd follow up in getting a master's in education field, because when I'm older, I would love to become a math teacher. That's definitely a big goal for me. Another path that I've been considering, though, is a therapist, or a guidance counselor, because I love helping out with problems or situations, and I find that I'm actually pretty good at it. So definitely a large part of why I wanted to pursue math is a direct result of my middle school math teacher, Miss Edwards. I really liked her. I felt we had a love-hate relationship, but overall it was really good. But I really liked her. She was a very good teacher.
Who loved and who hated?
No names.
And also Miss Sawyer, my current algebra teacher. I actually aspire to be like her. She's a great teacher, and I love the way she teaches. Also, a class that I took, it's a required class in high school. It's computer literacy. I took it as a freshman in my first semester, and we did this thing about our career projects, and what happened was we chose a career that we wanted to pursue later in life, and what we did was we built a project on it and how we could get there, what it does, what you get paid. And this showed me that I can definitely accomplish something like this. I feel personally I'm strong enough in a math sense that I can do this, and I really love just helping people. It's also a huge thing that I learned from the middle school was respecting deadlines and taking responsibility for doing my homework in different classes. And this effectively cut down on my procrastination, which was a problem earlier on, definitely, but it's definitely helped in my 9th grade year as well. So my middle school year was pretty good. I never had a hard time being myself, and I had a close group of friends. Actually, the one person who's not here, Austin, he was in my group of friends, and it was a good time. I was never bullied in middle school, and I never witnessed others bullying. I did have a situation though where I was the bully. I'm not proud of it. I had to go through restorative justice, where we meet up with all the people involved, and we talk about what we did. And I definitely feel this made me a stronger person, understanding the other side, because, as I said, I'd never been on the receiving side. So I feel it was definitely a big step for me, and I'm glad I went through it. So my one suggestion for the middle school is it would be helpful if middle school teachers put more emphasis on the importance of high schools, of like the importance high school is to a person's life. I firsthand experienced some of my peers failing classes or not going to classes, and they didn't really care. And I look at myself saying, these people, I mean, what are they going to do in life if they drop out at 16? I mean, I just don't know where they're going to go. So I feel like this is a really big part. And also, maybe for the people who do try and who do try, I think that the expectations for middle school and the expectations for high school are actually pretty far apart, and that's why I feel some kids aren't prepared, even if they want to try. I believe in Galaxy we were shown a presentation, and we talked a lot about things, and it was more based on class availability, so what we can take. And also, I think it would be good if we added things like workload or expectations, or more like options about what we can do. So also a part of this is I saw people who were not in their respected classes. I guess they were falling behind, not because they were fooling around, but they were trying, but they just were not in their respected level. And I feel that this could be detrimental to someone's high school career if they're really trying, but they're just not succeeding in the class. I actually had a friend who, she is sort of dyslexic with numbers. And what happened was she was put in a regular algebra, and because of it, she couldn't keep up with it, and she had a really hard time, and she ended up dropping math completely. So she had no math for her freshman year, which is pretty sad. But yeah, I felt I was fortunate enough in my middle school career to have great teachers. I really loved Galaxy. It was a great team. I felt they definitely prepared us, some of them more than other teams. And because of this, and my parents, not restriction, but
That usually goes along with parents.
Guidance. Parents' beliefs.
High expectations. There you go. I've maintained honor roll with an A every single quarter this entire year, and hopefully through finals. But I'm very excited for sophomore year. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited for summer, so I don't want it to be over, but I'm definitely very excited for sophomore year.
Thanks so much, Patrick.
Very nice.
Mary Ellen,
How am I going to follow those?
you'll do a great job.
Wow. Well, I took improv for a reason.
I was there too.
So did he. So, for my future, after I graduate high school, I want to go to college and I want to be a teacher. And it's for a specific reason. When I was in 6th grade, already I was thinking I want to do French, like take French in 7th and 8th grade. Well, actually, I was like, maybe I'll get away with like taking French one year and Spanish the other year. And then someone was like, no, you can't do that. That's not how it works. And I was like, okay, French it is. So I took French for 2 years and the semester in 6th grade, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I think it's a lot because of the reason that there was Madame Conlon, who just retired last year. And she was truly like an amazing teacher. She would sing songs and like teach us little quirky things to do to like remember vocabulary and grammar things, and it was just really amazing. And since I like being in the fine arts, I'm not like a practical art person. I like doing things and like making things visible for people to see. I do dancing, I'm in chorus, I took improv with Patrick. Like there's just learning about it, there's so many different things that you can do, so many different ways that you can show what you're feeling and express what you want to do or what you believe in. And like Patrick said, he said that Miss Sawyer, he aspires to be like her. I aspire to be like Madame Conlon, because she would teach us like little songs. She'd be like, it's okay, I don't have the perfect singing voice, but it's okay, because we're gonna learn this French song anyways, and it's gonna be so much fun. And her really like believing in herself, her believing it may not sound perfect, it may not sound like Mariah Carey, but it's gonna help you learn it. I want to be able to help people like that, because it's something that I'm like good at. And another thing that I'm good at, like music, funniness, I hope, and French. So it's kind of stuff that I want to like put together. Yeah, so that's what I want to do after high school and everything. And I want to continue doing fine arts thing and French things in high school. What was the second question? It was like... Improv, guys.
Things
your middle school experiences. Middle school, so what's your dreams? Well, half covered that. So yeah, Madame Conlon, yeah, she believed in herself a lot.
Mary Ellen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and she was just one of those teachers that it's like, wow. She could have been, like, with all teachers, they can be, like, they can irk you sometimes, but you know that they're doing it for the best, and because they care about you and they want you to succeed. And yeah, so I want to be like her, and I want to teach kids, but not just throw information at them and expect them to absorb it. I want to, like, teach them and help them to, like, know what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're speaking. And I think that's really important, because knowing one language, yeah, that's really difficult. English is a difficult language. Knowing 2 languages, though, that's pretty cool. That gives you an interesting quirk. It gives you something to talk about when you're building relationships with friends and with teachers and with peers. And it's really important to have that.
An icebreaker.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bonjour, je m'appelle Marie-Ellen, j'aime que je parle français. Et...
Oui, je parle français.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Spanish. On the other hand, I know like 5 words in Spanish.
So I've got a question that I think you all could respond to. There's a movement in Vermont and nationally to really sort of focus on students' needs, the individual needs of Olivia and Mary Ellen and Patrick and Austin. It's called student-centered learning, and there's a new law in place as of 2 years ago, Act 77, which is about multiple pathways, as you pointed out, Patrick, to get to the place that you want to land. I'm wondering if you can talk a little about your experience in Essex Town in terms of our focus as educators on your individual interests and talents, and how do we bring that out in you to be as accomplished as you are? Other than algebra seminar, which I understand was not a good learning experience for some of you, because it wasn't maybe as individualized as it needed to be, but just generally speaking, the focus on you guys as learners, and how did we address that in any of your years here in Essex Town, or did we?
So like bringing out your own sort of career?
Well, not necessarily career, but how you learn what you're passionate about,
Right. I think a lot of that comes with just the basic sort of classes. Like in 6th grade, I was just sort of cruising along, but by the end of 8th grade, I'm like, wow, I want to pursue math. This is something I'm pretty good at, and something that I actually enjoy. So, like Olivia said, Miss Pratt brought out the sort of scientific side of her, just through regular classes. So, in the sort of fact, I wouldn't say that it's essentially there for everyone, but that just having the regular classes, it still helps definitely. But that even without that being there in some of the middle schools, it's definitely there in high school. Things like STEM, things like AVPA, which is for the visual and performing arts. It's always there in the high school, no matter what you want. I mean, there's things like, there's so many different science classes that aren't just bio, physics, chemistry. You know, if personally I'm just gonna take those classes because I'm gonna take my 4 science classes, but Olivia might try to focus in and hone in on one part of her career.
I agree. Being more of a visual learner, I feel like maybe one thing is accentuating the arts more. That might sound a bit redundant, but because in middle school and elementary school and like FMS, so intermediate, it's all about like learning how to read and write, and obviously those things are so important. Like it's the fundamentals of like your entire life, and it's important for everyone at every age to like continue practicing those skills. It's also, it might be frustrating for children, like specifically younger children who might have like mental disabilities. They might be like, whoa, I don't know, how do you write a sentence? When I was in 1st grade, I was like, where do you put the period? Like, just at the end of the line? Like, no one told me that. And so, but then like moving up through the grades, it was like kind of more individualized, and that might be the teachers, but as well, learning through pictures and words. Like when little kids are learning different languages, they have their native word, they have a picture, and then the second language word. And that's like a really good connection, because they're like, oh, pants, des pantalons, like that's French for pants. And they'll see like a pair of jeans or something, and it makes like a connection. And that's not even with like different languages, it can be with math and reading and science, and really it can go all the way up through middle school. So I would say like not having stuff like chorus and band and orchestra just as like extra things to do after school, but like really making them a part of like the learning experience, like incorporating more music into like your regular everyday activities, like listening to a song in math about like how to do an algebraic equation, or like solving something like that, like how to graph a line, stuff like that.
Good. Thank you. Olivia, do you have anything you want to
So, it sounds to me like all 3 of you had some sort of connection with a middle school teacher, and it all obviously had a huge influence on your life. So what I want to know is, not everybody does that. What is happening in middle school for those kids, and what can we do for those kids, getting them ready for high school? Class.
Yeah.
I mean, like
If they don't click with a teacher, what do you do with the kids that don't?
Everybody has that connection or clicks with a teacher and suddenly decides, you know, this is where I thrive.
Right, and there's also kids who will grow up and, you know, they become a famous zookeeper. It's not like a teacher, you know, says like, wow, I'm a zookeeper, you should be like me. So there's not always going to be that connection, but
I would just to make sure you just don't mention any teachers' names. That would be important. No, really, just
some kids, I feel like kids could essentially try more. Kids, like I said in my statement, who are, you know, failing and skipping classes, and they don't really care. It seems to me like they don't try, and because of that, they're not going to go very far. So definitely try to make connections, but for those kids who don't, I feel like even if they don't, it's always good to just keep on, your middle school career, just having that, and then sort of blossoming in high school with different activities, different sort of groups or clubs. So I feel like in high school, it's definitely more where you start your individual path. And definitely, if they don't click with teachers, 110%, I've never seen a kid who doesn't click with their guidance counselor.
Somebody, right?
Yeah, we each have individual counselors, and they track our past. They listen to us. They hear what we want to do.
Patrick, so you mean in high school?
Yes, in high school we have individual guidance counselors, and so what happens is, like I said, I wanted to be a math teacher, and my guidance counselor instantly said, hey, there's things like STEM, where you can go into a math part of it, or there's different opportunities. My math teacher suggested me to take a financial class, and he was talking about how that can also really help, and that there's, I forget the club name, but that there's sort of this group where you go out and you learn more about financial stuff and other things. Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
But sorry. No, you go.
I would add, if you don't click with a teacher, everyone clicks their guidance counselor in the high school. They're great matches, but even like friends, like there's always like the smarty pants, in a friend group, like get together, and I can remember in 6th grade we would have little study groups before tests or quizzes to just try and learn the material before like any big exam, because it is really important to get the material down. It always comes back in high school and in the upper grades. So I would say, like, try and find someone who understands the material that you really do click with. And, even try, like, tutoring or your parents. Like, parents are smarter than we think. They took middle school, They know something. I came to my dad a couple times on science. And then, Mr. Andrews, back to what you said about the personalized learning. I had a great Spanish teacher who she gave us all quizzes at the very beginning of the year on what our personalized learning style was, whether it was auditory or writing. And so mine was writing. So whenever there was a test, she would come out with her deck of flashcards. Here you go, Olivia. And I would write them down, draw the little images. So I think there's definitely some teachers who are catching on to that. And so every kid would have. My friend was a reading, so she'd always have like some sort of like reading article in Spanish that she could like study on. So there's some teachers who are catching on to that.
Yeah,
and helping a lot.
I'm curious, on back to the guidance counselor thing, did you feel like that really didn't happen in middle school, 8th grade, and it happens much more in high school, or I'm just curious?
I feel like it does happen more in high school. I don't feel that there is more of an individual what you want to do when you're older. I think, even personally, that you're still too young. You're still learning the basics. I don't think you should be trying to focus on stuff like that. So honestly, I don't really think it might be necessary here in the middle school to try to focus on like what you want to be. Because even kids in college who they say, they come and say, wow, I'm gonna come to college and I'm gonna be a scientist, and mid-semester they go, wow, I want to be a doctor, wow, I want to be, I want to be Einstein.
Zookeeper.
Zookeeper. It changes throughout, and so in the sense, I don't feel there is a person like that in the middle school, but also that there isn't really a necessity to have one.
But do you think it might engage some of those kids who don't bond with the teacher?
It could, but back to what Olivia was saying, friends are such a great tool. I personally, my lowest like strong suit is science, but I have a friend who's actually really good in science. So what we'll do is we'll Skype or FaceTime and we'll help each other out. And it's not copying, but she's actually a really good teacher. She teaches, she doesn't tell, and it's actually really cool. So again, friends are a huge part in being able to click and connect.
I hear you guys speaking of your connections with your teachers, and some of them you had, with the 2-year loop, 7th and 8th grade. Is that something that you feel really supported those kind of connections.
for
And
sure.
Like making a bond and staying with that bond was
Yeah.
yeah.
was huge for definitely me at least.
And among your peers, was it helpful?
Oh yeah, just
You know,
stay with some of
knowing-
your friends.
It
Yeah,
sounds
no,
like you guys have
definitely
really figured out your resources, whether they're guidance counselor or educators you're connecting with, or your peers and your friends, and your math friend, or your
Yeah.
your friend who's especially strong in something that maybe isn't your thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I
just
feel-
know how to find your resources.
I feel like you get really close with the people on your team. Like, I can remember at the beginning of 7th grade, I would not talk in morning meeting. I would stare at the floor, not talk to anyone. And now, like, the team, there's so much team building. They do a really great job with that. That when we're walking the halls in the high school, hey, we're like, hi. We all say hi to each other at the Galaxy team. Like, and I think that's the same. I wasn't on Cascade, but I think it's the same with all the teams. They're very close-knitted groups.
Ellen has a question.
Well, that was my question, was about the team setup at the middle school and whether that was advantageous to you as learners. And
Yeah.
whether, if you could think of it without teams, which way would you want it to be?
Oh wow.
I think for me, really, I loved the teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a great setup with the 6th grade, because 6th grade, you're coming to middle school, you're a little 6th grader. It's like being the freshman, and like, no, don't talk to the freshmen, you know? So it's like having 1 year to get used to it, understand the school, understand. It's like I had to meet some new kids, and then when you're in 7th and 8th grade, really get your core. Like, you really find out who your friends are in your core group, and then really dive into the learning because you're comfortable with everyone around you. You're not scared of raising your hand and making a mistake.
In that transition period, you know, in 5th grade, so elementary school into Founders, that sort of, you know, we're gonna get in the line alphabetically to this. When you hear the bell, you're gonna go and change your binders and get all this. So it's a lot more freedom. And then in high school, where literally the bell, if you don't go to your class, people won't come looking for you. So this sort of the complete freedom steps.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and I definitely think that the 6th grade into the teams is a definitely good transition period.
Especially for being on the edge, which we did the projects and everything, and they're actually doing their project fair today. And I think that it took a lot, for some of the kids it took like a lot of like, not poking and prodding, but like getting to know them. And I think that really helps when the kids are in 8th grade and we're all picking our classes. And so then Lindsay Hallman and Phil Young can be like, we've known you for 2 years now. Like we know your learning style, how you do this, like little quirks about you, and so now we can do a better job with like saying maybe this level, maybe you should do 100 instead of 200 in this level, or maybe you shouldn't do honors for English just because like you've had problems with in the past, or like I know that you can do even better with pushing yourself in like math, so you should do geometry 200 instead of 100. So it's kind of like that. So it's like being with them for 2 years, they get to know you better than I feel if it was just switching teams and students all around. Because you like, kids talk, they get to know each other, and they're all kind of like mixing around, mingling, like figuring out what they're all kind of doing. And so then the teachers are there to be like, yeah, well, you want to be with this person and this person, but you all kind of like learn differently. So it's probably, the teachers kind of like there for not damage control, but like, not damage control, but like keeping people in check and like reminding them like, is going onto this level going to really like help you? Are you going to be able to handle it? So yeah, and I think that being with them for 2 years definitely makes it a lot better for them to be able to do that.
I'm trying to remember the transition in the Edge, because the Edge was, of course, originally 5 years, and then 4 years, and then 3 years, and then 2 years.
Yeah.
How long were you in the Edge?
I was there for 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, so
I went from Kiva? Yeah, Kiva to the Edge for 2 years, and it was amazing.
Okay.
It was a lot better than being on Kiva, I think, because it was definitely more personalized because there were less students and there were Lindsay and Phil, and it was just more like you could like talk to them more because there weren't like, how many were there? Like 60, 70 students to 3 teachers. It was like 25 to 2. So it was like better odds. Like if you were having friend trouble, then it would be like, hey, there's a problem, SOS, help, and it would get resolved quicker. And so that's how I think some of the friendships that are like I made in middle school are still together in high school now, because we learned from Lindsay and Phil that like you have to like make sacrifices and change some things to like help your friends and you stick together, because high school's kind of scary in the beginning and you're not going to see everyone as often as you might like, so you want to like still have that connection, and Lindsay and Phil kind of really taught us how to like keep the connection and like different skills to do that.
So I'm gonna wrap us up unless there are any more questions from the board. I'm wondering if there was an opportunity. I don't know if there is an opportunity, but if there was an opportunity to give feedback to high school leaders, people who make decisions around transition planning, along with Mr. Briggs, getting you ready for understanding what's coming. I think Patrick mentioned the importance of just making sure kids are aware that what it's going to look like the following year. But if there was, now that you've been through a year at the high school, do you have an opinion about how to make that transition more seamless? Many of the things that you mentioned tonight, but if there was an opportunity to share your reflections with high school staff, would you be willing to do that? Everything from what does it look like when high school educators come and talk about 4 years of science, Patrick, and sort of like, what you need to do to acquire enough credits to graduate, which is really important. But as we think about student-centered learning and think about personalized learning, think about the multiple pathways that you have benefited from, you probably would have an opinion on how to make that even stronger for people who are going to follow your shoes, follow your steps. So I'm wondering if that would be something you'd be interested in.
Yeah,
I don't know what that would look like, but I think your voice is really important, and because you've experienced the transition, whatever we can do to make that even more seamless, we'd be really interested to know about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I can give you movie tickets, but so thanks for coming. Awesome job.
Thank you guys are awesome. Nice job.
So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Poor Austin's not going to make it out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Good job, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for sharing your experience.
Yeah, it's great.
Guys.
Should we put the chairs back?
You're fine. They're good.
They're good when
You're
they are.
fine. No worries, you guys. Have a
And
great
thanks
night.
to parents for
Thank
sharing your
you,
wonderful
parents.
kids with us.
Yeah, good luck with 3 more days of exams.
Oh, 2 more days.
2 more days.
I was
Sleep well, eat well.
And thanks Ellen and Dylan for coming out tonight and listening
Thanks,
to
guys.
panels.
Thank you.
And Kevin, thanks for coming out. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Parents should be proud of them.
Yeah, very.
I like the fact that we had Galaxy, what's the other one?
Cascade and
Cascade
Edge.
and Edge. I like the fact that we had one of each tonight.
Yeah, we have to work hard at making that happen.
I was going to know if that was coincident or if that
No.
if you tried.
No, continue to look at multiple experiences, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got that from these
Yeah,
kids.
clearly. I also really liked when Patrick gave feedback to the 8th graders. I thought that was...
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I will follow up if I may. I know we're off agenda too. I mean, this is just such good information, and the transition planning that does happen. It is getting better as we focus on individual styles of learning and pathways, but it's still a fairly traditional way of getting kids ready for high school. So their feedback would be really important. I think to try to frame next year's transition planning a little bit differently.
Well, the observation about the value of the guidance counselors as okay, you don't bond with any individual teacher.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if, and there's probably something like this already done, but I'm sure teachers can identify, oh, these are the kids I've bonded with. And then there's these which we haven't really clicked.
Yeah.
And to communicate with, maybe it's guidance counselors, maybe it's gym teacher, maybe it's Mr. Araldi.
Well, I think that's what Patrick was getting at, and through personalized learning plans, there are adults in that child's life that's not necessarily their primary teacher. So I think as that process evolves, I think there are other adults that we could consider and being part of that child's plan.
I know. Yeah. I mean, there's also mentoring, which
There's
I know
mentoring is
you
another
guys
option.
both are very active in.
Yeah.
Do you think the new board is going to continue this kind of presentation? I mean, obviously, my kids have a long way to go through through the process, but it is helpful and fun to hear. I actually wish Mike would hear it.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that it would have been great if the freshmen, I know everybody's busy this time of year, but the 8th graders might have stayed.
I
for
know,
the
that would have been
freshmen.
great.
But they, it's a busy time of year, so I totally understood, and I didn't want to interrupt anybody to say, you guys can stay.
And I think some teams do that because I know like the Edge will have previous Edge members, team members come back and talk a little bit about the experience and the transition. So that might be something though that would be even helpful to do
Intentional,
more
among
intentional
all the
among
teams.
Well, and I wonder how valuable that would be, maybe not at the 2nd and 3rd grade levels, but maybe at the 5th and 6th grade levels. 6th graders going back to 5th grade.
I think they might do.
They do some of that. They do a little of it.
and third go back to second.
Yeah.
But it is pretty remarkable, the connections those kids all spoke of, and, for each of them it was somebody different. But that was powerful, and it was such a testament, I think, to the 2-year looping.
Yeah.
That is really a hallmark, I think, of our middle school, at least in my time with all of my kids. That was an experience that was very beneficial, and one of my daughters was on an off cycle, so it didn't seem to be like all those teachers were great, and in both of the teams that I experienced, and I'm sure, I don't know, it seems like that second year, and Olivia's comment of, you're nervous in the beginning of 7th grade, you don't want to say anything, you don't even look up, and then you realize that you get comfortable enough to make mistakes and raise your hands and speak, and that, in addition to teachers having heads up on predispositions and not losing ground in the fall of your 8th grade year, her reflection on what was most powerful about that to her was related to her confidence to make mistakes among a group that she felt comfortable with because they had done great team building. That's, that I thought was pretty cool. And listening to them speak about their resources, like for each of them, it might have been something different. For Patrick, it sounded like guidance counselor, or, it sounds like their peers, they knew who to. That's like a life skill. That's pretty cool. So somewhere along the way in middle school, through even the familiarity of their, their core group of people in their 2-year loop, they developed the capacity for discovering their own resources, even in an unfamiliar environment. And those are those life skills that I think resonate so strongly when we're asking for that in our ends.
Yeah.
One of the words you used, Kim, tonight, was knowing your resources. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I still have experiences or, memories when I was in high school, not knowing who do I go to try to get the, like I might have been a social issue or an academic issue, but, who are those people? And these, you learn that you don't have all the right answers. And I think Patrick mentioned, or Olivia, parents know more than what you give them credit.
That's a great comment.
Yeah.
But who are the people in your court, in your team? And if you don't have those people, then where? And I think that's where school counselors come in play. Who are the adults that might be able to be of assistance to you?
The ones that could pick up the kids who don't bond with their primary teacher, or maybe, like I say, a different teacher. Making sure the guidance counselors.
Yeah, it's complicated, and it's why some high schools who've innovated around this look different than EHS, where they've created smaller learning communities within the school. Not unlike what we have at a middle level, not teams necessarily, but a core group of educators and kids working together for at least their freshman year before they're ready to matriculate into a larger learning community. And I think these kids, I think, were probably handled that commingling of upperclassmen maybe more easily than some students do.
Well, and then maybe also partly because of their looping. They all went into 9th grade, and there were kids in 10th grade that they looped with in 7th and 8th. So that idea of saying hi to your Galaxy friend who you're not in any classes with, but they're still your Galaxy friend.
Yeah, that's right.
And some of those Galaxy friends would be the year older also. I'm thinking about Mary Ellen, because I just know she happens to be good friends with my daughter, who's a 10th grader.
Right.
So having that connection.
I think what I heard, and I think I heard it more from they're more articulated a year older, but the 3 corollary sort of the principles of they heard that the work is really important in going to school. My career, Patrick referred to it as his career, that teachers, you can do it, like we're not going to give up on you. And that's only two, but it's important. You can do it. We're never going to give up on you. Are the three things that I heard tonight. That's really important.
And I think it was great. Like, I went to small schools like my whole life. My 8th grade, was 2 classes of 25 kids each or whatever. And high school was this, 60 people in my graduating class. And this is this is like me transitioning to college is like what these kids are doing,
Right.
times 10 going from 8th grade to high school. And it seems like they still have such a strong foundation and confidence and community. Like, even though it's so big, that there is such a sense of community and like comfort that seems to exist. And I feel like excited for my kids to like, go through that process of, it's going to be totally different from how I went to school, but like I'm envious, it seems like, wow, there's so many cool opportunities and how just education has changed in general, but like specifically what I see here compared to, what I grew up with in a totally other state and private school and, and I just think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Friends can be the best tool, someone said.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
Oh my gosh, it was awesome.
I mean, one of the things that I heard throughout, and again, I think we all have sort of some level of opinion about the leveling issue, and that they said it in a very respectful way, but they see some of their peers who are challenged by the content, I think is what's implied.
Yeah.
But it's good because we have lots of levels that we can put kids in. So I think that's a conversation that this community is having, as you know. But kids as young as 15 see it, and some would suggest that the goal is not just to create more levels, but it's to challenge us to think differently about having more heterogeneous classrooms, like we heard from our athletic leaders. I think what they're trying to do is level a playing field, and there's ways to do that. Maybe not immediately, but I think that was interesting that came up, not in a dissing it way, but saying kids will be more successful if we just recognize that some kids aren't going to be able to handle the content.
Yeah, and the balance of, I don't want 50 algebra problems.
Yeah.
But then kind of at the same time they're saying like I needed 50 algebra problems because otherwise I would have been totally unprepared for what I'm experiencing in high school, so it's kind of like
because in the middle school there isn't really, I mean, it's done more discreetly. There's not a lot of overt leveling that goes on. But as soon as it's interesting, they go to 9th grade and it's like 100, 200, 300. I mean, it's more apparent.
Right.
And I think that conversation would do well to hear from maybe some of the kids Patrick was talking about that are struggling or wondering or not, in the characterization, maybe not trying as hard, but maybe frustrated by. I think getting these student voices to tables is pretty important. And these amazing articulate kids from various backgrounds, I appreciated so much Patrick sharing his experience of having been the bully.
Yeah, that was really powerful, wasn't it?
So powerful to listen to him reflect on that experience. And I've actually
be glad that
known
he
those kids since they were this little, because they're Abby's grade, and I mean these kids in various capacities in various classes, and just was blown away by their takeaways from what they've learned from even his challenging experience. And how grateful he was for having had it and going through it. And that is so mature. I mean, we all, I'm sure, know adults who wouldn't take that away from an unfortunate circumstance, and that they figure that out and they're 9th graders. I just am really...
I'm going to share that I've got a community justice board meeting tomorrow night, and I'll share that with you. The restorative piece is really, really strong.
And that's at work in our middle school right now, correct? I was assuming that was the program through which he had done it, within our school. And I'm sure that Kevin probably had a lot of pride in watching him reflect on that experience in that way. So I love Kimberly's question about whether or not the new board and the future work will include this. And I don't know to what extent the current high school board includes it or any of our other neighbor boards do, but I think this is so powerful, and I will suggest that we would do that, because I can't imagine not having that piece of it, because I would agree, Mark, it's important to get all of the data that we get in the form we get it, at the occasions we get it. We get it trimesterly. We're getting updates on that which can be quantified a little differently than something like this. But in the absence of the qualitative piece of a student reflection, particularly as I no longer have kids in our buildings, I appreciate it even more so, I think, this year than, and I always have, but and maybe John and I can reflect and really appreciate that brings voice and animation to, what's really important about what we're doing.
I love Olivia's one of the students' comments about some teachers are starting to catch on.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, two teachers who taught here, used to teach here, actually one still teaches here, but again, the connections of parents, with teachers with kids is just a powerful thing. And so teachers getting that feedback is just
Yeah, I think it'd be important for the new board. We kind of use the excuse that, well, we sent these kids on to 9th grade, we want to find out what happened to them. That's our excuse for bringing them back in.
Yeah.
Well, the new board might not have that, but I think there's still,
way, right?
how is it going to be? It needs to be framed, differently.
There's
but
still a major transition that happens,
Yes.
regardless of if we're the same district.
Right, and so I think frame it a different way, but make it happen.
Yeah. And I don't remember, have we always done an 8th grade panel?
This is the
No.
first time.
I didn't think so. I was like, that was very cool.
Did
And
Mary L?
Yeah, we've always done the
Mary
9th,
Ellen
but
is
that was
the
the
9th
first.
grade.
Did she do something else here?
A couple, she presented for the
She was a
Edge.
student.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I know
That's
I've
right.
seen her before.
Yes.
We're taking some data, and just as a quick, you heard a lot about what they're doing. What's the result of what all you're doing? We'll have better data next year. You've heard the e-pass, some of the pro-social skills that we're monitoring, and it's so new right now, but I think we're going to start having some better data that show that the efforts that are underway, the effect it's having on the climate of the building. Right now it's just sort of, I think what we heard tonight is just the stuff that we're doing. We really didn't hear about the results, but we'll frame it differently next year.
I wish there was a way that we could reach out to Patrick's other group, the kids that aren't going to school and the kids that are frustrated, and if there's
I
a
know.
way to find out where we lost that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always kind of had that comment at this point. Wow, that was great to hear from the upper crust.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about the kids who struggled?
Yeah.
And we don't bring them back in.
Yeah.
And we always, it seems like we always make this comment at this point in the
It's just
presentation.
It's not that the effort's not made on the part
I
of
was gonna say, it's
high
probably
school
the-
staff. It's
No,
a
but I'm just curious. It's too bad that there wasn't some way to keep in contact, at least with a mailing or I don't want to say a survey because most kids just blow it off, but some way to get other
I think the school
feedback from
counselor might be
kids.
the way to get at that, rather than going through the principal's office.
Yeah.
But so
And the movie theater pass.
yeah,
Movie pass,
they're deserving
Is
of
that on the
that.
budget?
Well,
No.
I think even, and several mentioned that when they got to the high school, there were so many more choices and opportunities and ways to grow. It'd be interesting to get a sense for, there might be the kids who didn't find the connection here at the middle school, but are they able to forge those connections at the high school? Do they feel confident enough because of the diversity? They might find the club that is the key.
Yeah.
Or
new
the
kids from Westbury or
program
from
that
EDL.
exactly that are the key. And I several mentioned that once they got to the high school, there were so many more opportunities, but then focus back on the fundamental, that they really felt that they got a strong base that then allowed them to explore. And I thought that was, that's something we don't want to necessarily lose sight of either, that, they felt confident enough in their base to explore a variety of different avenues. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Mark, for bringing this to us because it is just
It's important for sure.
very moving.
Are we going to do this next year? Because we can't say, well, we want to know how we're going to help the next group.
Oh, we are so doing it next
All
year.
right, good.
Right?
Of course.
Okay. Just saying.
Our closes on,
Just a thought, actually. And I don't know if this
We're
is.
tying up our meetings, but we're not losing this one.
This is just I truly thought of it about 10 seconds ago. But what if we brought those same 4 8th
Back
graders as the 9th grade panel?
That'd be
It fails to give us more diversity,
Yeah.
but it gives us
Different, a
4
better
kids that we say,
perspective,
okay,
maybe.
you told us this a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
Yeah.
they were telling us about the Athletic Leadership Council, not about necessarily preparedness for high school.
Right.
But
Right.
It's sort of about it, though, when
Yeah.
you think about how they're preparing themselves as leaders and bringing kids into a fold that I don't know, all of it struck me as,
I'm just-
feeding their growth in so many different ways.
I'm also thinking, okay, there's a group of 4 kids who would be comfortable coming back and talking to us because they've done it before.
Well, they all seem pretty comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And that was, without exception, the experience as I went from group to group with the Nova team, right, that morning. And I literally couldn't get enough of the sitting down and really hearing from each of these kids, and all of them with confidence, because this is something they cared about for their 2 years. So that seemed like an isolated group of kids, but at least what I experienced was like a whole team of kids doing that and feeling that strongly about what they were doing and really confident about what they were doing. That's so cool. Anyway, well,
All right.
thank you. Moving on, we don't need to accept anything except to say, yes, we will put that on the work calendar for next year. All right, I apologize that this arrived to you quite late. The 4.7, I didn't ask anybody to assign it when I was missing from the last meeting. I thank Dan and the rest of you guys for doing a great job in my absence. And I definitely said, this is mine to do, because I was up and due and was remiss in begging anybody else. So in this, Dawn had done it in December, and we were, fully compliant, and I think probably I could have gone along with that too, but I wanted to sort of be honest in our reflection and say that this report, which while it's available for all of us, from our survey, when we complete the survey after each meeting, you can click on see responses. We don't really, I use it as a tool just to sort of check how things are going, in case for some reason, I hope you would all feel comfortable letting me know if there was something we really needed to pay closer attention to. But I do check it periodically, but I have not provided you guys with reports, and I think semi-annually when we do the monitoring report would probably be adequate if you guys agree with that. But what I was wondering from Cashel was whether or not there was a way to just capture a time frame, so the responses from
Just the time frame of
6 months.
responses.
And I couldn't figure it out, but I thought, if anybody will know, Cashel will know. And so you don't even have to tell me this second, but that
I
was
mean,
one of those
ultimately,
things
yes.
that
We should be able to do
I
that.
thought would be, I would use the tool better, and we might all benefit from the tool more to be able to look at it. Okay, from the 6
Segment it
months
out,
from
yeah.
Rachel did it to when Dawn did it, when we had different personnel at the table too. Dawn had joined us and David had.
Yeah, there's date stamps.
Okay,
So
so we
you-
could sort it just by those.
Right.
Okay, so I couldn't figure that out earlier. So that would be what I would suggest that I would do, is to provide that to you guys with those monitoring reports. And I especially pay attention to like the comments. I know that we tend to fare very well, which causes us to sometimes wonder, since we're always, yes, are we asking hard enough questions of ourselves at
Right.
these meetings? But I think that given that as a tool and we've been comfortable using it, know that I pay attention to the comments too. So if that's an area for you to expand more on your thinking, please do. Our results range from 100%. Looking toward the future, we seem to count ourselves as doing that very well. I think we keep that lens on our work. I'm appreciative of us doing that, and I think on any occasions where we don't, at least in our own self-reflection, we're catching ourselves. I just think it has become our thankfully good habit to be thinking about, oh, what can we learn from this, and how would it inform the next thing? That I'm really grateful for that of our work. And then our Robert's Rules of Order, I am going to say that's our lowest, and it's at 90%. And I don't know if that's like just from the last 6 months, or if that's from the last year and a half that we've been doing this. But I appreciate that Don knows when we need to read the whole thing, and I am really grateful for that. And
I can tell you that at a glance, there were only 2 times or 2 responses in the past 6 months that said it needed improvement. I said yes.
Thank you. At a glance, see, that's updated information. Well, that is good to know. I know we have occasionally had problems with our timeline, and we're going to tonight, and I apologize. Or maybe we won't. We might still pull it in
Make up
under
for it.
8:30. We might. And we had in the past suggested maybe we do a timekeeper, and then it seemed like we were doing better with our allotment of time and our agenda. So I can tell sometimes by John's face if we're way over or we're starting too late. So I'm paying attention. If I were to make a timekeeper, it'd probably be John. But I know that I'm picking up on those nonverbal cues, and we're trying to be sensitive to that. But that was one of the places where I think we had sort of a run where we had too much in the time categories, and I think Mark and I have done a little bit better job of trying to tighten that up. It helps us stay better on time, I think.
And I think as things wind down, you'll have more time to focus on.
Yeah. And I think I checked in with Mark earlier today, and it's, he gave us the sort of, yes, we're not just saying we're doing a good job on these things from his perspective. We are pretty true to the work we're supposed to be doing, and while we aren't continue to not do a great job on formal feedback to him after each monitoring report, he was appreciative of the summative evaluation and the components, as we are appreciative of his goals and self-evaluation and reflection on those goals. I truly appreciated our process on the evaluation to have had you all and we all be so thoughtful around the questions of the qualitative aspects of the job. For our conversation through executive session was, for me, the best version of that I've done in all the years we've been here, and I really appreciated the thoughtful reflection you guys had done before we got there for us to be able to provide Mark thoughtful reflection that was evaluation and in the vein of continuous improvement. So I think he experienced it that way. I appreciated that very much about all of our input in that. And I think I loved Dan stopping us when we were thinking about 2.4. And wait a minute, can we be in compliance if we're, it may have a deficit piece of this? And just, I appreciated that reminder, and I think we've all done it at different times, to have us pause and really talk about the way we're thinking about something. It feels like we process our interpretation like here. And so that we can make sure we're moving from a similar interpretation, and we can all have different opinions. That, like, I would expect we all would have different things we're taking to the way we think about the work. But boy, each time that one of us pauses us and says, "Wait a minute, do you think that we could be in compliance or partial?" Like, what do we think these terms even really mean? That has so much more integrity than just picking something. So I think even when we're not doing formal self-evaluations, we are doing this all the time, you guys. So I'm really, really grateful. I think we continue to evolve. We're not perfect at any of this, and we don't mind not being perfect, and we really are more apt to challenge ourselves more and say, maybe it's more like partial. The more we learn, the more we are more appropriately critical of, are we doing this the best way we can? And that's a pretty cool model to follow, and I am really, really grateful for it.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would like to make the motion so that we don't get any further behind.
She's the best.
To accept policy title 4.7, board self-evaluation as presented.
I will second.
Awesome. Any discussion, questions, comments? She won't yell at you. No. Do you guys feel comfortable with our assessment of it? Yeah. All right. So I'm hearing no further discussion, questions, or comments. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Kimberly, I sent it to you, but I don't know which email I was supposed to have sent it to. So.
It's okay. I have it.
Did you get it?
I did.
Okay.
I don't know if I can open it.
Okay, if I should send it to the different one, that's fine, I can do that too. Okay. All right. Okay. EWSD update, and I don't think we've had a meeting since our last meeting, have we, Mark?
When did we meet? 23rd of May? Well, we haven't met, you mean?
The EWSD hadn't met. You guys had a meeting, but I don't think we have met
You mean
to give you any further update. I think there's been work happening. We have a meeting tomorrow night. Because it was raised as a concern here, I want you guys to know, I had brought attention to the fact that the subcommittee had 2 CCSU board people on it for superintendent search. What ended up coming of that was that there was never sort of a reflection as those sub-working groups were put together on who was from where. Like, the negotiations is me, Brendan, and Andre from Westford, so there's nobody from EJ. So as Martha thought about it, what that group is going to do is not be choosing a superintendent. So there's going to be a search committee that would be community members. Like, we've done this before as we've hired superintendents. So what that group is bringing to our board tomorrow is a few different ways to go about the process. And then when the full board votes on what process we want to follow, they'll work out the details of a contract with somebody to facilitate the process. So because these working groups, I guess with the exception of maybe negotiations, aren't really, and negotiations will be operating with the guidance of the full board just as we do when we had negotiated, those other working groups are not taking action. They are sort of preparing for full board review. So I wanted you guys to be aware that was what came of it. To add anybody would have put somebody on double duty, and it that felt inequitable to people. So the situation was raised. Brendan, Martha, and I had discussed it, and then it seemed as though thinking about it in whole and the actual charges and responsibilities of those working groups don't include making final decisions. And at various points we'll be looking for people to serve on these search committees. So in any number of the hats we wear, we can consider, not me probably, but others can consider their willingness to serve on those. So that's one update I can provide. I can't recall that there have been other action type stuff. I know the communication group is working, and the folks from Nellie Mae, I think, are convening smaller
June
groups.
20th.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Monday, June 20th.
Right. We just don't know where we're meeting, but
Right.
it's Monday, June 20th.
So they are, continuing to work to try and move the engagement piece of this forward on behalf of the big district. So that's what I've got. Anything, Mark?
That's good.
All right. Moving right along. I think it's you.
Oh, it's me?
Two.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when we talked last, when was that meeting anyway?
2 weeks ago.
This is the report that I presented at EMS. It was on April 25th, 2.4 financial planning and budgeting identified that we were anticipating a projected deficit in FY16.
Right.
And, the lion's share of that was as a result of having to hire personnel outside of the budget cycle because of the needs of kids. Several weeks ago, Roger and I were meeting and sort of reviewing where we were, and some good information came into his office in terms of a change in our estimate around year end for FY16. So I thought it was appropriate, given the importance of not wanting to end the year on a deficit, and we were looking at a plan B to try to control for it. The good news is that we're not anticipating a deficit at this point for a couple reasons.
Cool.
And I can call your attention to the third column over. which is what we're projecting now in early June. Two things. One is, which I don't have an answer. You will ask the question tonight. Well, how are you going to address this? And I'm going to tell you I don't know yet. And we've got representatives from our software company meeting with us this summer. The software is encumbering salaries. It's mostly for hourly employees, which is it's erroneous. It's not correct. So it's saying we need to spend, put this much money aside to get to year end, and we don't need the money that they say we need to put aside, essentially. And we don't know that until this time of the year when there's only X number of days left in the month, and we know that we don't need all the money that they said we needed to encumber earlier. So I don't believe it's a human error. I believe it's something based on my conversation with Roger and Mary, something to do with our software. And it's not a new problem. It's something that we've been aware of. But given the startling number that we looked at back in April of looking at $80,000, Roger wanted to. Actually, it was back in February. Put the brakes on spending because of that. So that's the good thing. The other is that we saw increased revenue because of our increase in special ed needs. So the increase in revenue and the encumbrances being adjusted to reflect real-time personnel needs, that deficit has gone from that deficit's been wiped out. Now we're anticipating a modest fund balance. It's nothing I did. I love to take credit for it, but
I was gonna say, if you can figure that out, I want to.
Well, that's the good question to ask. Why?
But it could just be some formula within the program.
Well, that's what
that was
Roger
just
and Mary
off.
think it is. So we'll reach out to our technical assistants from that company.
Something as simple as rounding with this volume.
Yeah.
Can just really throw you off.
2 weeks of contract versus 2 weeks on hourly pay, it never balances out to the very end.
And what we do, and this is
Probably
doesn't.
not been that tight before. Maybe that's why, even though it happened before, it didn't cause the alarm in the same way.
Yeah, only because we knew we had a deficit for other reasons. But not every district does the level of encumbering that. Is there a word, encumbering? That we do.
Sure. We'll go with it.
I'm really proud of our. They look at every dime, every pay period, and not everyone does that. So they've been on top of it, but so it's a good report. I just wanted to let the board know that we'll be okay by the year end. So I was able to afford movie tickets. I picked up on that. Maybe it was Dan or someone.
The budget.
It's in the budget, but I confidently spent the money.
Excellent. Yeah. Well spent. Well spent.
Yes, I'll pass that around to Roger. Yeah.
You should probably use those 2 tickets, the extra ones that you have there.
I-
You and Roger go out to the movie.
Yeah.
What movie?
We're marking
I've got a.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles noontime preview.
I've got 2 students who I think would benefit from it.
That's awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
All right,
Mike.
thank you. That was really good news. Awesome. Oh, that was so quick. Look at us. We're only 4 minutes late now. All right, meeting takeaways for Facebook posts.
Our kids are awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just sent you the email, but
to sign
basically,
this to
yeah.
approve
I
this,
think
yeah.
the only
I'll pass it around.
summary, the most interesting topic to summarize is our student visits.
Absolutely.
For sure. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that's really
nothing else. is
Yeah,
really-
I kind of feel like end of school year, like that's the highlight
definitely
for the
At one-
messaging.
And I absolutely agree with you. At one point, did we though
I know.
put
Did
a
we ever
Facebook
bullet?
post about
If we didn't
having a
bullet
deficit?
about
Because
the
I think it would be
deficit.
good to then Facebook post
If
that we're
yeah,
now
I
anticipating.
can take a look.
I just think that would be a
remember
nice
either, actually.
additional
Yeah,
one to
I
round
don't
it out.
know.
I don't remember.
I
But we
don't
can look,
remember,
'cause we
so
can see
that's
what we
why I
posted.
just.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
Yeah.
easily. I can check that.
Because it'll be
yeah.
in the minutes
think
anyway,
that we were
and we
looking
always
into
link
it,
the
to tell you
minutes
the truth.
typically. What?
I almost think something about looking into
I feel like we
the-
might have, and but we do, after the more important bullets, we can say that, and we always link to the minutes. And if there's an RETN, we often link to the RETN feed as well. So
Yeah, which I think for this particular one is great.
Yeah,
because
it's
that's what we want to see.
exactly. Perfect. we have no more monitoring reports for this year, you guys, but I did want to talk to you about, we've typically done a summer retreat. I think we've talked about the possibility of being able to get down to one meeting a month next year, and there may be some months that's not the case, but what I was wondering if you guys would like to, rather doing like full day retreat or 6 hours, or would we, I think it would be beneficial, but I'd like to hear from you guys. Could we maybe do 3 hours and bring in sandwiches and do evening if that's easier for people, and just do one more sort of, it would be a retreat. I'd like for us to look a little bit at our goals, really. We have our goals from last year. We can reflect on those and set our goals for the coming year. And Mark and I could draft the work calendar and see if we can really get down to one meeting a month, and which months we feel might be necessary, if at all, to have more than one. But I don't anticipate not monitoring our district's progress for the coming year. That is our job. And I do anticipate maybe we have a somewhat different role, and we might learn more about it June 20th, that is our piece of engagement. Mark and I were talking that sometimes it's just more comfortable and familiar for people to come and engage, whether it's sort of town meeting updates on what's coming, or if transportation is going to be a topic at some point, hosting or helping to coordinate or facilitate. Our role might be different in that way around engagement, and we've always been looking for a way to engage more. So what a perfect opportunity. So I think, but for us to process and think about our goals together, if you guys are available to do that, even like Monday the 27th, or, and maybe we think about what's the earliest people could get here, and we'd order sweet clover ahead sandwiches or something, and work through to 8:30, or maybe it'd be 3 hours for us or something. Can that work for people's schedules? And are there?
I mean, I could, if you wanted to do an evening of 5:30 to 8 type of thing, I could do a meeting wizard and throw it out to all of you.
Yeah.
If you want to check with family,
Is that a time
and just
of
see
day
what might
that's
work.
better for folks?
And on one off like that, whatever, anything.
Okay. Is there anybody for whom daytime is better?
I can do it.
I'm home all summer. It doesn't matter to me.
Evening would make it
Evenings
more
easier. Okay. Okay. So, would you
do
do that, Mark? Yeah.
5:30 to 8.
5:30 to
With
8
sandwiches?
tentatively, and then we'll figure out if the agenda looks like it's
soon.
I
Right.
think
If you said the 27th.
In August.
we have
Right.
we've done it both ways. Last year we did it in August. I think the year before we did it like at the end of the year in case there was work we needed to do for the summer, and then we had our first meeting in August. Do you guys have a preference? From a work plan standpoint, we might do better to do it sooner rather than later. Is there?
Well, if you do it on the 27th, we'll have met on the 20th to find out what we're going to need to do.
That's what I'm thinking, and it'd
Be
be
fresh.
pretty timely
Right.
and fresh. If
Does the 27th work?
Works for me.
Yeah.
yeah, does it? Do you want to check it?
Sure.
No, I know I'm taking one kid to camp on the 25th and picking the other one up on the 25th. So yeah, we're good.
All of you know where your
My
kids
kid's
are.
birthday's the 28th, so I was like, I know the 28th doesn't work, but there's nothing.
So 6:27.
6:27, and is 5:30 workable for people time-wise?
I'll be late.
Do you want to
Yeah,
push that
I can get here by 10 to 6.
10 to
If-
6?
Like if I come straight.
So why don't
from
we
work.
do 5:45, and we'll start the food? Does that work?
I can get here for 5:45 if food's involved. No, I'm kidding.
Food will be involved. We'll figure out something, and
Location, you want to do central office?
yeah.
Or
I
do
don't
we
think
want
we
to do
need
something a little bit more grand?
No, central office is fine.
And it's
No.
AC, and
Yeah.
It's got AC. It's pretty great.
I'm in the conference room all day anyway, so I'll just shift the chairs around.
He's
And,
got retreats
Bring
coming
a
out
bring a
that was
recliner. You can stay there.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So you're going to go to 8:45 then? Because you want 3 hours?
Can we confirm the time, if we know it's going to be in that time frame, if we can confirm it when we've taken a look at the agenda? It
Okay,
won't go
that's fine.
later than, 9. It won't probably end earlier than 8:30, I would think, something like that.
Okay.
That works.
Okay. Oh, you guys, thank you. think that's important for what we can really figure out what we want to do for the coming year. All right. I think that's it.
Before we adjourn, I have a question. Is there any? Are we ignoring the email that we got?
Oh, so we won't need an executive session, but I have been in touch regarding the parent email, and I will be responding, and I'll copy you guys.
Thank you. I make the motion we adjourn.
So there's a need for board signatures for the money that we're borrowing, with your name on the tax anticipation note.
I will second your motion.
And I also wanted to just, on behalf of the board, thank you, Kimberly Hess, for a job well done this year. Love having you. You're just extraordinary in so many ways. Thank you.
Very fortunate.
She is awesome.
She totally gets us.
Can you pass
I
the
think
folder?
we're good without you on the 27th.
Can we? You wanna pass
You
that?
guys will just let me know when.
Do you want to sign first, Kim?
Yes, we will. Oh,
There's multiple documents.
Great.
Thank you. And the rest are just contracts, and you can.
Wait, are we signing in multiple places? Is that what we're doing? Wow.
Yes, I can.
Multiple monies.
Wowie. I'm feeling it.
That's where you signed your house away and exercising your camp away.
Oh, man.